I've been doing something really stupid recently. I've been scrolling Twitter, and I found that Twitter wants you to believe you are financially screwed. There's no hope for you, none whatsoever. As we talk about what I'm about to talk about in this video, I really want you guys to weigh in the comments. I really want to know what you're thinking about all of the things I'm about to share with you, that I've taken from comments on Twitter that I'm going to read to you here today. I didn't link the exact names of these people's accounts. I just took some of the messages and have copied and pasted them to a Word document. I'm going to read those to you right now. But Scout's honor, none of this came from me. Just stuff I'm reading to you from Twitter. So here we go. And this is the one that caught my attention. Personal finance is 1% money, 5% behavior, and 94% systemic inequality. Systemic inequality, 94%. Oh, I guess that's it, guys. You were trying to become financially successful. You were trying to be smart with your money, not blow it, invest. You were trying to save for retirement, pay off debt. Well, you can stop all that. You can stop because none of that matters. That's only 5% of the equation. First, you need to fix your systemic inequality. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I'm putting myself up for adoption and I'm moving out. The amount of inequality in this household is just not cutting it for me. I need to move to a household that's higher upper class so that I can have a real chance at financial success. Let's continue reading what this author has to say. I think it's always been there and I've tried my best to address it, but now it's unavoidable. Yeah, I'm sure only now is it unavoidable to talk about it when it's popular and trending. I'm sure that's not the only reason you're talking about this right now. Insincere and irresponsible to give advice without acknowledging its existence. I'm partially being hyperbolic here, but not really. We don't have all the same starting point or opportunities, which affects our money. A lot of that has to do with access and equity. The system in place regarding healthcare, education, housing, childcare all play a role in someone's financial situation. Look at the credit industry, redlining, and more. She goes, oh, that's so true. Sometimes I've fallen into the trap of thinking that money or spending behavior can overcome that systemic inequality. However, the reality is our system continues to widen the gap between the wealthy and the poor. And when I read something like that, the first thing I see or basically gather out of it is that the system we're born into here in America is so stacked against us that it's basically a lottery system. Unless you're born into the right family, you look a certain way, you are able to go to the right schools or get the right education, your financial success, your future is doomed from the start. That's basically what I gather when I read something like this. Now, to be fair, because I like to see it from both sides of the coin, I think where you grow up, the family you're born into, the kind of culture you grow up into does have a significant role in shaping your life, at least for a good chunk of it. So I think there's some validity in what they're saying. I just don't think it's anywhere near 94%. Growing up in a family with two parents makes a significant difference. Study after study has proven that. Having a two-parent household, having access to education, yes. Growing up in an environment that's hopefully not the slums, not the ghetto, where you're not constantly being exposed to gangs, gang violence, drugs, whatever. If you grow up in that sort of environment, unfortunately, life is gonna be rough. And I will not dismiss that point at all. Not for even 1 second. But to say it's 94% of your financial success, irregardless of what you do with your behavior, is absolutely ridiculous. Can you imagine that I can just blow whatever amount of money I have because it won't matter anyways, because I believe that 94% of success is based on the system? My father-in-law has an orchard. It's 10 acres. It's not a massive orchard. But just by walking through it, I can tell that there's certain parts of the orchard where trees are growing better than the other. The trees that are growing the highest, the tallest, the soil in that area has the most nutrients in it. And the trees, of course, that have not grown as much, even though they were all planted on this same exact day, obviously the soil over there doesn't have as many nutrients. And so it's unable to grow, it's unable to get the right amount of water, whatever it may be. And so it is causing inequality right in the trees. Now, I feel like I've seen this stuff before. Posts like this, like information like this. Where was it? Oh yes, I got it. Of course, it's the New York Times. You know the New York Times, they're really credible, right? That very credible news source to educate you on inequality and the concept and mindset of victimhood. Now, I do agree that where you start off in life, whether you're born into a rich family or a poor family, makes a difference in terms of where you start from, at least of where you start, and maybe what you learn about money and business and taxes and that kind of thing. When I read this, the thing that really ticks me off about it is not so much the inequality part, it's not that, but it's the fact that they completely discount the acts of discipline and the sacrifices people individually, personal choice, make with their money in order to better themselves financially and in other ways. Because as you know, not everybody spends their money the same way. As the saying goes, a fool and his money will soon part. This was clearly displayed in Robert Kiyosaki's first book, or one of his first books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and in the Cash Flow Quadrant as well. Now, I don't have a lot of respect. The amount of respect I used to have for Robert Kiyosaki has diminished based on his new information and things he's been saying. Pretty crass, I think. But in terms of years ago when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the book was golden. It made a lot of sense. Is that the way people behave, the way they spend their money, ultimately will make them richer or they will make them poorer. And if you've never read the book, I encourage you to read it. I want you to hear me out here. Give 3 people $100,000 each, okay? Person A, person B, person C. Do you think that those 3 people, even if you take money from somebody else and you give that money to them, do you think they're going to use it all the same way? No. Person A, well, they might like nice luxury things. They might take their $100,000 and they might buy a nice car, which probably costs around $100,000 right now. Nice car, they might buy a nice watch, electronics, they might just buy gadgets and gizmos. Gadgets and gizmos. And all their money, that $100,000 is now gone. And what do they have some nice stuff, but ultimately, still poor, right? Let's go to person B. Person B decides, well, I'm not sure how I'm going to spend this yet, so I'm just going to put it in the savings. So person B puts the money in the savings, doesn't touch it. Now let's talk about person C. Now person C thinks a little bit differently with their money. They think, well, if I use this money wisely, I can make more money and I won't have to work as hard. I'll have more options in life. And so what does person C do? They invest it. They maybe start a business. And because of this extra money, now they have created more wealth. So you took 3 people. Well, first of all, you took money from somebody else who's not even in this equation. You gave it to 3 people. At one point, they were equal. But after the end of the experiment, they were all on equal once again. Now, if you've been a long-time follower of my channel, you know that I do the absolute best I can with the amount of limited time I have outside of my full-time job to produce educational videos on finances, investing, and taxes. I want everyone, and when I say everyone, I literally mean everyone, to have the best education they can on these subject matters. And as fast as I can produce these videos, I will. Just last week, I produced a video that walked you through how to fill out taxes, basic example for rental real estate property. That is real financial education. Yo, I realize there's a lot of unfairness. There's a lot of inequality in this world. That's part of the reason I produce these YouTube videos. That's part of the reason I do it. It's to give everybody who watches them, if they want to watch them, a better chance at having success. I don't know about you, but when I read something like this, it makes my blood boil. One, because it discounts hard work and sacrifice and discipline and completely says, well, you don't have to be responsible. And secondly, it promotes victimhood. It promotes hopelessness and the fact that, well, if the system is this much against me, why should I even work? Why should I even try? And it's that very mindset that hooks people and gets them thinking that, well, I'm not going to try as hard. So what happens? They don't try as hard. They don't work as hard. And because they don't work as hard, they don't develop skills. And without those skills, they can't make a significant income. And so their entire life, they spend poor. They're a victim. They become a victim of victimhood mentality, and they stay poor their entire life. So they never try to climb out of poverty because they think there truly is no hope. And they think a politician is going to bail them out. Are you freaking kidding me? Or do you seriously think any politician will ever save you? That's a complete joke. Now listen, because of the way I look, see that right there? I've had people over the years on YouTube, well, they said, well, you're only successful because the color of this. Like, really? Well, what they don't know is that my mom, she was very poor, okay? Now, when my grandfather was alive, and I thank God for him, things were a little bit different. But my parents divorced when I was 3 or 4 years old. And then my father figure pretty much walked out the door. He was gone. And I only saw him for a while when I was younger, and I don't have any relationship for the most part with my father today. I have respect for him, but in terms of having a relationship with him, I really don't have one. There's no communication going on there. Part of that's me, part of that's him. Okay, and that's just what I've decided. But luckily, I had my grandfather around. And my grandfather, with his support, he was able to financially help my mom some, to help raise, and he helped raise me. And I thank God for him every day. If it wasn't for him, he would have never encouraged me to even try to do something meaningful with my life. But he encouraged me. He said, Michael, try to do something really good. Try to do something great. And because of that, I'm always trying to live up to that standard, and I haven't met it yet. I'm still working towards it. But if he hadn't had some belief in me, and he hadn't taught me some of his good qualities, he had a lot of bad qualities too, which I won't mention. But I tried to take away those good qualities, and because I saw how responsible he was. I saw that he was a person who valued taking care of his family, not making excuses. And even though things were unfair, he still found a way to get the job done. And that's what I'm encouraging all of you to do. I know things are unfair, and I know we can work to make them more fair or more equal. But in the meantime, don't fall prey to this victimhood mentality, which may set you back years financially, because it will encourage you not to work, not to try as hard, when you could really do something great. But you have to believe you can do it. And you have to have somebody telling you that you can make something more out of your life than what the media is telling to you. The media is a weapon of this country, of the world. It is the weapon owned by the elites. There's two weapons that are against us in this world that I've identified. One is the media. Secondly, it's the Federal Reserve central banking system, which basically inflates the value of assets for the rich and devalues the currency you and I go to work for. And thirdly, there's one more, the education system itself. We don't go to school to learn about money. I honestly think that if they wanted us to be financially successful, they would have figured that they should have taught us something by now. But do you see schools teach us a lot about money? No, because they don't give a damn if you're ever financially successful. And that's the truth. At least they're trying to implement some more programs to introduce this financial education right now, but we'll see where that goes. While my grandfather was alive, things weren't that bad for me, honestly. If you want to talk about privileges, that was my privilege right there. That was my blessing, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. I realize I had some good things in life that other people didn't have. I recognize that. Okay, I do. With my grandfather alive, if you think about like socioeconomic class, we were like kind of in between like poor, like upper poor to lower middle class, like somewhere in there. But once he passed away though, my life turned, and he passed away when I turned 17, my life went from basically lower middle class to poor really quickly. You see, my mother had made some mistakes financially, even while my grandfather was helping her. She got herself in a lot of debt. Lots of debt. So much of the fact that creditors almost put a lien against the house. And she found a really cheap attorney who charged her hardly anything. He should have charged her a lot more, but he didn't, because he really did care about getting her out of her situation. And he helped negotiate down her debts. And so now she's debt-free. She'll never take on another credit card again. She's retired, and I feel okay. I feel like she can get by. But before that, though, there was a lot of mistakes. And she told me, Michael, learn from my mistakes. And I did. And seeing how much stress she had in her life because of debts, because of mismanaging the behavior portion of her money, she could have made different choices. I love my mom, but I'm just saying it how it is, right? All of us can make different choices. Well, because of that, I had a fear of poverty. And so what did I do? At the age of 17, or 18, somewhere in there, I started going to the public library, guess what? All the information you need on finances, investing, and taxes, a lot of it, a good chunk of it, is completely free right at the public library. And I started reading. I read books like The Millionaire Next Door. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read Buffettology. I read books by Brian Tracy. I love Brian Tracy, by the way, if you ever read his books. But all these books helped shape my thinking in a different way, like that, oh, I can have something. It is possible. I just need to change my behavior and change the things I'm doing. And that has led me, those books, and setting those goals and really re-envisioning what I could have for my life has led me to have more financial success. Now, the average, I looked it up, the average medium net worth for a 35-year-old like myself is $35,000 in this country, in America. Now, I don't know what it is for a married couple, but I'll just say, and my wife would not want me to disclose our net worth, but luckily, because of our hard work, our sacrifices, and yeah, we had a couple blessings along the way, but let's not just discount hard work. Because of that, our net worth is far, far above that amount, that average amount. And so we're probably doing better than, I don't know, 80 or 90% of the people who are our age, something like that. I know income-wise, we're in the top 11% of income earners in the country, but it took years to get there. It took sacrifices. It took discipline. I didn't do it by partying. I never got involved in drugs. I didn't go out and commit crimes. All these things. And these are choices I made. Now, you could say, well, you grew up in a better environment, so you didn't have to worry about it. Well, I still could have made the choice. There's people who grew up in those bad environments who I think are absolutely incredible people, and they came out of it stronger. They came out of it, they didn't get hooked into that, and they still had success. Those people, to me, far exceed anything I've ever accomplished in my life. That's for sure. The people who grew up in a bad environment and still win. Now that is a story of encouragement, if you ask me. You see, the reason I'm bringing this up is these books and just thinking differently about money and about what you can accomplish in your life is that I was determined to break the cycle of poverty of my family. I said, I'm going to do whatever it takes so I don't have to be poor and live a life of this much stress and live a life where I have a few more options than the average person. That's what I wanted. And so far, I've been able to achieve that. But when you read these authors on Twitter, with some of the things, not all of them, but obviously some of these people who are writing this stuff, yes, is there inequality? Yes, sure. But it's not promoting them to break poverty. It's promoting, I think, more so, I think they're promoting people to stay in poverty, stay a victim and cry and wallow in their pain versus trying to do something about it and taking steps to pull themselves out of poverty. What impresses me is when somebody doesn't sit back and wallow in their sorrows and cause harm to other people, violence to other people, and destruction because they don't feel things are fair. They're not throwing a temper tantrum. But instead, they take an attitude of gratitude and they say, look, I know I don't have as much as this person above me, but I'm still better off than this person. And this is where I fall in the whole socioeconomic class. Where can I go from here? Because I want to have a better life and I'm grateful for what I have, but I want to do better. And so what steps can I take to fix that? What can I do to improve my life? That's the kind of person I have tremendous respect for. You see, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about what you have right now. It's not about what you were born into, or what you have or what you don't have. It's not about those things. It's about your life and where you're going to go with it. Everybody starts in a different place, but where are you going? That's the bigger question. No offense to these authors on Twitter, but really, how much, now I'm pretty sure that most of these authors that I'm seeing, these posts, these are people who live in America. How much harder would it be for them if they came from an underdeveloped country? Really, seriously, it would be way harder. It would be nearly impossible in another country to get ahead financially or to change your life. But not here in America. You still have a chance as long as they don't take that away from you. There is story after story of people who have accomplished far, far more than I ever will, who came from really bad environments and overcame those situations, overcame addictions, turned down drugs, turned down violence, got away from crime. They moved. Because unlike the tree in my father-in-law's orchard, you're not a tree. You can replant yourself in a different spot. You can get yourself out of that environment. It's not easy. Nobody's saying it is, but it's possible. You see, people came to this country and who are far more impressive than I ever will be. They left the country. Many of them almost were persecuted for leaving their country. They might have barely got by with their life just to get here for an opportunity. And that opportunity they came here for was not for everything to be equal. No, they came here for an unequal opportunity, but an opportunity that was just enough to give them just enough chance to really go after their dreams, really make the life they want to have that they could not do in their other country, which is why they came here. So for all of you out there on Twitter who are promoting this movement about inequality, fine, okay? But I would encourage you to take a step further and say, how do we, instead of just playing the victim card, how do you get someone to care more about learning about investing, care more about learning finances, care more about learning taxes and things that will pull them out of the gutter, so to speak, figuratively speaking, and get them into a better financial situation long term? How do you encourage people to want to do better financially? How many of you know, personally, somebody that if you gave them all the right books, if you gave them all the opportunities in the world, you could give it to them and they wouldn't give a damn? They just don't care. My coworker, him and I were talking. My coworker is a very, very young guy. I'm really impressed with him. He's only 22 years old. He's already investing. He's got a Roth IRA going. He's doing great. And he went to his buddy and he was talking to his buddy who's going to be a firefighter. And he was like, man, you got to open a Roth. The money grows tax-free. You can have tax-free income for life later on. This, that, and the other. And the guy's like, that sounds great. But you know what? I just don't care. I just don't care about that stuff. And see, ladies and gentlemen, that is part of the problem. Is that people, even if you gave them all the resources, even if you gave them all the money, they would still end up unequal in the end. You can lead the horse to water, but how do you make them drink? They could improve their life, but they don't think they can because they're being told they're a victim 24/7 by the media. It keeps telling us lies. There are people out there who will not like what I'm about to say, but I don't think the lack of educational financial resources is the issue in this country. That's not the issue. We have more free educational resources on learning finances, investing, and taxes than any other generation in history ever. You can go to the library. That's how I started learning. I just went to the library. You know why? Because I was working a part-time job trying to pay for my car insurance, my cell phone, or whatever. And I didn't have a lot of extra money to buy all these books. So I said, well, I can get them for free at the library. And so I read and I read and I read. There's more YouTube videos. There's podcasts. There's, oh my gosh, the list goes on and on. There's very inexpensive courses you can buy online from people that are just $5, $10, $20, whatever. Very inexpensive courses. So the lack of available financial resources is not the issue. It's not. I have no excuse even for myself. I can't play that card. I can look at, I know that it's out there on Google. I can pretty much Google anything and find something, some sort of answer to help me. It might not make complete sense, but at least it's going to point me in the right direction and help me solve the next step of my problem. Your path to financial stability doesn't come from outside of you. It doesn't come from looking at what others have and you don't have. It comes from within. It starts here, the way you think about money, the way you think that the vision you have for your life. And that's where it starts. First, you got to believe in yourself and have a vision that you can improve your life. And secondly, it comes from the desire in your heart to break the cycle of poverty in your family, to do better, take the steps necessary to improve your life. And if that's you, well then I am here for you. I've been here for you for the last 3 or 4 years, and I will continue to produce these educational videos week after week as best as I can, as fast as I can, to give you more ammo to work with, to help equalize the playing field. Because I don't think the school is ever going to teach it. And if they do, at what degree will they teach it? At what level will they enhance your financial education? Who knows? And I don't think a politician of any kind, Democrat or Republican, is ever going to save you. And I don't trust their desires. They have desires that are far different from mine. They seek power and they seek control. And it seems like they want more and more and more of our money from taxes. And There's arguments online saying, well, if we just tax people more, we can distribute the money to everybody. Well, how many times have you paid more taxes, but yet the money gets diverted into something else? How many times has our government been held responsible? I'm so sick of believing that our government's going to fix things. We have to fix things. We're seeing right now in 2020, we're seeing a revolution. We're seeing our country being torn apart by various factors, various factions of people. And we see that the government pretty much isn't doing anything about it. We pay taxes, we do this, that, and the other, but they're just kind of letting it happen. So if they're willing to let these cities fall into destruction, fall into chaos, then I don't think they're going to help us financially. I don't think they're here to save us. That's up to you and I. And until we figure that out, until we quit playing the victim, we cannot move forward. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know this was a serious talk and very different from most of my other videos, but I felt it in my heart to have this conversation with you. You can make the life you want to live. You can be better off than you are now, but you have to start with believing you can. And I will do my best job I can to continue to provide you whatever resources I have available for you to equalize the playing field. I'm here for you. I'm here for all of you, for everybody of every color. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you have or what you don't have. I just want to know, where are you going?